To Bio 104 at DMAC. You'll be taking this class with me, Miss Marks. So what is the class Bio 104? Bio 104 is biology for non-science majors. So if you're a history or an accounting major, this is the biology class for you. It's also a transferable life science course. So if you're looking to transfer a life science course or a requirement that you have to fulfill in order to transfer, this course might fill that requirement for you. Now you might be thinking, hey, Miss Marks, you just said that this is a biology course for history and accounting and other sorts of non-science majors. Why the heck do I even have to take it in the first place if I'm not that major? There's a few reasons. Science is a process that influences all of our daily lives, both in big and small ways. So we want to get familiar with that process in general. We also have to make good decisions throughout our lives. And in order to make the best decisions we can, we do need to understand some of the basics of science, including biology. We can't escape that. There are things that we're going to do in our lives that require some sort of scientific information or background information in the sciences. Things like voting, deciding what to buy, or where to go, things of that nature can be influenced by what we learn in science. And then lastly, we want to go for our own curiosity. We all have had questions about living things or about life in general at some point. And while we won't necessarily be able to answer all of the questions you might have, we're probably going to be able to answer at least some of those questions throughout the semester. So let's pique our curiosity and find the answers to whatever questions we have that we can. So for this course, here's some basic expectations, both my expectations and things that you should expect as a student. Number one, expect to study. Biology is not always easy. There might be topics or units that you find difficult. That's okay. Learning is a bit of a growth experience, and with growth sometimes comes growing pains. It's not always going to be comfortable. Take it as it is though, and make sure to study to lessen any of those pains throughout the semester. I have a how to study guide, so if you have questions on that, you can read that on Blackboard. Number two, expect to have to be open to new information. We're going to be possibly challenging some of your beliefs that you already held before we started this class. Be open to the information being presented and know that with new evidence, it's okay to change belief systems we have in place. And then lastly, because we do have a lab component to this class, expect to get messy and hands-on at times. Lab isn't always going to be very chaotic, but there will be some times where we have to get a little bit on the messy side. You'll also want to think about that for the days that you do have lab. You'll want to consider what to wear so that one, you're in proper lab attire, which we'll go over during the first week. And then also make sure you're wearing clothes that you're comfortable in and that you're comfortable if they were to get a little dirty. Now let's go over some of the general course policies. Now these are in detail in the syllabus, so if you haven't read the syllabus yet, please do so as soon as possible. There's a lot of really good information in there, some of which can help you through the semester, so don't ignore the syllabus. But let's do a quick little recap of some of the really important points. Number one, do your best to be on time, and this goes for both the online and the in-person things we have to do. For the labs that are in person, you want to make sure that you're being on time to class. There's nothing worse than walking in late and having everyone look at you, or disrupting something that's going on, or worst case, missing out on something really, really fun. It does happen from time to time, and that's understandable, so if on the rare occasion you are late, just make sure to be respectful of those who are already in class. When it comes to the online section of the class, it's mainly asynchronous, meaning you're going to have some flexibility in when you get things done. However, there's one thing that we need to talk about when it comes to being on time. It's turning in your assignments, both for in-person and online assignments. Make sure to read through the syllabus and read the late policy for late work. You don't want to miss that information. That late policy is going to be concrete. It's something I'm going to hold you to for the entire semester. Get familiar with it now in the very beginning so that it doesn't catch you off guard if you try to turn something in and I don't accept it. Or you don't turn something in because you thought it was going to be late and you wouldn't get any points, and the late policy actually allows you to do so. So make sure you're familiar with that. Number 2, put forth your best honest effort. Cheating doesn't pay off, and it's very risky. Yes, this class can be difficult at times, but it's not worth getting in trouble and getting a 0 on something or worse by cheating. There's a lot of really awesome information we're going to be learning, and you want to try to retain it. Yeah, you might not need to remember this stuff 10 years down the road, but cheating isn't going to help. You don't want to get a bad mark on your record, and you don't want to get a 0 on an assignment. And that ties us into the last point I have. When in doubt, ask for help. Especially be proactive with that asking for help. You don't want to wait until after the exam's over and you didn't do as well as you'd hoped in order to ask for some sort of assistance. I'm one of your greatest assets, both in person in labs and online for the lectures. Use me as a resource and ask those questions. If you're not sure what to do, if you're not sure what the instructions are, or if you just don't understand a concept, those are all good questions to ask. So now that we've gone over some of the general course expectations and policies, let's do a quick recap of how to succeed in this class. Now, like I said, I do have an entire how to study guide written up for you to read through, and that's going to go in some detail, so I'll leave you to read that on your own. But let's go over some of the key things. Number 1, read your textbook and your materials. You don't want to ignore materials that have been put together by professionals. It's been specially curated for you. Learn how to read your textbook, and again, that's going to be in that how to study guide as well. Point number 2, take notes, even for your online materials. Yes, you can rewatch lectures over and over and over again and listen to them as many times as you want, but sometimes there's no substitute for writing something yourself, especially writing it in your own words and your own form of understanding. That's something that can be really helpful if you're still finding something confusing, because you can take those notes and you can work with someone, either a fellow student or your instructor, and we can kind of see, well, what are some of the issues we're having in understanding this? Number 3, find a study buddy or a study group. Now, in today's world with the pandemic, we don't necessarily want to meet in person, so I'm not advocating that you go out and meet people face to face. But there are plenty of ways to meet with people and create virtual study groups so that you don't have to go through the semester alone. That's especially important since we have the online portion. Being in an online class can sometimes feel a little lonely because you don't meet with people and you don't get to know your classmates as well as you would in a face-to-face. So try to reach out, try to create some sort of study group online so that you can have some of those connections with your fellow classmates. You'd be surprised how much more you learn just by working with your peers. And then lastly, work with your instructor. Like I mentioned, I'm one of your greatest assets in this class. I'm a wonderful resource. Don't ignore that resource. If you're having trouble with something, talk with me. We can work something out. If something's going on that's preventing you from getting to class or doing your work, talk to me. I can't read minds. So if there's something going on, something that's affecting you academically, you want to reach out to your instructor or to some other resource on campus. If you don't know who to reach out to, your instructor is your first line of defense. If they can't help you, then they can direct you to someone who can. Don't ignore your greatest asset in this class. So many students never talk to their instructors, and then at the very, very end of it, they wish that they had. So make sure to have that open line of communication. And lastly, good luck. It's going to be a great semester. Make sure to work hard, reach out, and stay curious.